Welcome to Know Before You Go. I'm Father Don Goergen. I recently moved from St. Louis to Chicago, and so have the opportunity to be with you. I am currently the Vicar Provincial, or the assistant to the Provincial, for the Dominicans of the Central Province. Basically, the main emphasis in our readings today, I'm going to suggest, will simply be learn before it's too late. Learn before it's too late to conform your life more and more to that of Jesus Christ. I recall many years ago a painting at the Art Institute here in Chicago by Ivan Albright. And the painting was of a person who had their hand on really a casket, a door, and the kind of caption was, "That which I should have done, I did not do." And how often in our lives do we not look back at something with some regret? Actually, in our reading today, we have, if I might put it quite boldly, the story of a man who did not learn early enough in life to serve the poor. And so he went to hell, to Gehenna, to Hades. It's the story, very familiar to us, of the rich man and Lazarus. But I first want to mention that in some ways, this fits in with the readings of the last 2 Sundays. 2 Sundays ago, there was the story of the prodigal son who returned after going through an experience of conversion. And the crisis through which he went was important because it would not have brought him to that moment of truth within himself that his older brother did not experience, and who thus remained self-righteous. Last week we had the story of a man who also struggled with a crisis in his life. He was being fired, basically, and thus, although we do not want to follow his example, there was a certain enterprising ingenuity about how he worked out his future destiny. But in the gospel text today, this rich man had not gone through a crisis in his life that in his life might have brought him more deeply or profoundly to a sense of what it was right for him to do. Nor did he, with any ingenuity, work out a future plan when he chose so clearly not in any way to share of his riches with the man who was begging at his doorstep, Lazarus. The emphasis then, in many ways, is learn before it's too late. The prodigal son learned, and in a way had been blessed with a crisis in his life, and sometimes crises provide us that opportunity. Likewise, the man who was being fired, there was a crisis in his life, but he strategized in order to work things out. But this rich man, it would have been a blessing if something had happened to him in his life to make him realize early enough before he died that he needed to change his life and conform it more to that of Jesus Christ. So he begs in our gospel text, "Can I not, in a sense, at least let my brothers know this?" And the response is, of course, not only the prophets have been there, but if someone were raised from the dead, it's as if we still wouldn't listen. And yet we ourselves have the prophets, such as in our first reading from the book of Amos, that we need to be attentive to what it means to conform our lives to Jesus Christ, as our second reading outlines. The emphasis then today is on our awareness of the important role of the poor in our lives. Lazarus was at the door begging in a way for just scraps that might have been given to him. We live, whatever our situation in life might be, in an affluent country where abundance is ordinarily available, even among those who are relatively poor. we still ordinarily do not starve. We ordinarily find a way to make our lives work. The lesson, as I say, for me that I learned is learn to conform your life to Christ before it's too late. Because for this rich man, he died, he went to Gehenna, to the underworld, and then it was too late. He learned too late. When in a sense he saw where Lazarus was, the poor man, it was too late for him to undergo conversion and conform his life to the teachings of Christ. And even it's suggested that if someone came back from the dead and told his brothers about it, would they have learned? So for us, the message really is, let's not find ourselves in the same difficult situation that this rich man did. Let us learn that it's important now, as of today, to more and more, in whatever way we can, to conform ourselves to the life of Christ. And such a central part of Christ's life and his teaching was a concern for the poor.